Look at your hand. 5 fingers. You didn't count them. You just knew. Now try this. Picture 4 dots, then 5, then 6. Can you feel it? Somewhere around 4, your brain quietly gives up. It stops knowing the exact number and starts guessing. And you never even notice it happen. That tiny glitch is a doorway. And on the other side of it is a version of the human mind so strange that when scientists first found it, they refused to believe it was real. Because for almost all of human history, nobody could count. Not slowly, not badly, at all. The number 7 did not exist. Neither did 20 or 100 or any exact number larger than 3. And here is the part that should unsettle you. There are people alive on Earth right now who still live this way. Their minds hold a secret about your brain, about how you see everything that you have never once thought to question. Let's open the doorway. Start with a fact that sounds impossible. You were not born able to count, nobody is. What you were born with is much smaller. Scientists call it the number sense, and it has a hard ceiling. Show a newborn 1 object, 2 or 3, and it knows the exact amount instantly. So do pigeons, so do lions, so do fish. This ability is ancient, older than our species, but push past 3 and it collapses. 4 becomes some. 10 becomes a lot. 100 and 1,000 feel almost the same. Blurry, approximate, a fog. That fog is the natural human mind. Everything sharper than it, every exact number you have ever used was not grown. It was installed, and for tens of thousands of years, almost nobody installed it. To see what that mind is actually like, you have to go deep into the Amazon. There is a group there called the Pirahã. In the early 2000s, a linguist named Daniel Everett went to live with them, and what he found broke a rule scientists thought was unbreakable. The Pirahã have no words for numbers. None at all, not 1, not 2, not 5. They have a sound that means a small amount, and a sound that means more than that. That is their entire mathematics. To them, quantity isn't a number, it's a feeling. 2 researchers, Michael Frank and Ted Gibson, went to test it. They laid out a line of objects and asked the Pirahã to match it, 1 for 1. Small amounts, they nailed it, but the moment the line grew longer, their answers fell apart. Not because they were slow, because there was no exact number in their heads to reach for. And these were not simple people. They were expert hunters who could survive a jungle that would kill you in a day. Their language was rich and complex. They just lived in a world where counting was never needed, so it was never born. But now comes the detail that genuinely haunts the researchers who study them. The Pirahã knew traders were cheating them. They could feel it. So they went to Everett and asked him to teach them to count, so they could stop being robbed. He agreed. Every night for 8 months, he ran lessons. Not one of them ever learned to count to 10. Not one could reliably add 1 plus 1. Their entire way of seeing reality had nowhere to put the idea of an exact number. The door was simply closed. So where did our numbers come from? How did the rest of us walk through that door? It started with a bone. In 1950, in the mountains of Central Africa, someone dug up a small piece of a baboon's leg about 20,000 years old. It's called the Ishango bone, and along its edge are rows of notches, cut carefully, grouped into clusters. We still don't know exactly what they were counting. Days, moons, a kill, a debt. But it doesn't matter. What matters is what the notches are. For the first time, a human being reached into their own mind, pulled out a quantity, and pinned it to the outside world. A mark that says, this many. Once it was carved, it never had to be remembered again. That is the real invention, not the number, the record. Because a mind forgets, a bone doesn't. And the eerie part? Marks like these show up all over the planet, made by people who never met and never could. Carved bones in Europe, notched sticks in Africa, knotted cords in the mountains of South America. When humans needed to hold on to a number, every one of them reached for the same idea. One mark, one thing. You still do it. 4 lines and a slash across them. 20,000 years later, the tally mark is still in your hand. Then we stopped wandering and everything changed. When our ancestors settled down to farm and to herd, they suddenly owned things. Grain, cattle, land, debts. And a small amount wasn't good enough anymore. Trade 20 goats, get back many, and you've just been robbed in a way you can't even argue against. So around 10,000 years ago in the Middle East, people started using little clay tokens. One shape for sheep, another for grain. One token, one animal. It was counting you could hold in your fist. Every receipt you've ever been handed is a descendant of those tokens. An archaeologist named Denise Schmandt-Besserat spent decades following these tokens through the ancient world and found the same system buried across entire civilizations. It was humanity's first accounting technology, and it ran for thousands of years. Then, in the cities of ancient Mesopotamia, someone made the leap that built everything you live in. Instead of keeping the tokens, they pressed them into wet clay and made a mark. Around 3400 BC, those marks turned into symbols, and those symbols became the first written numbers on Earth. Think about what that means. Writing may not have been invented for poetry or prayer or love letters. The very first thing humans ever wrote down was not a story, it was a number. An invoice. But here is where it gets strange, because learning to count didn't just hand us a tool, it quietly rewrote how we see reality itself. Look at what a number actually does to the world. It takes something messy and alive and slices it into identical, interchangeable units. 3 sheep stop being 3 animals with faces and become the symbol 3. Number teaches your mind to break everything apart, to rank it, to measure it, to compare it, and once you can count objects, you can't stop. You count days, and time becomes a straight line running away from you. You count what you own, and your life becomes a score. You count your own years, and suddenly you know, with brutal clarity, roughly how many you have left. The Pirahã don't do that. Ask how old they are, and the question barely makes sense. They don't track it. They live inside an endless now. Counting is what dragged the rest of us out of that now and stretched us thin across a line of past and future. And this isn't poetry. It's measurable. In those matching tests, without number words, people simply could not hold an exact large amount in their minds. The words weren't labels stuck onto ideas they already had. The words were what made the ideas possible in the first place. Language didn't describe number. Language created it, which means the counting mind that feels so obvious, so built in, so much a part of who you are, was handed to you from outside, by a parent counting your fingers, by a teacher drilling times tables into you, by 10,000 years of humans who clawed exact quantity out of the fog of many and forced it into the sharp light of 17, and now you can never go back. Look at anything, and your mind starts slicing it, counting it, measuring it. Try to look at a crowd without feeling its size. Try to look at a clock without the numbers pulling at you. You can't. The door only opens one way. For hundreds of thousands of years, your ancestors lived in a world that was whole and uncounted, where quantity was a feeling, where time had no edges. They looked up at the stars and never once wondered how many there were. They didn't need to. Then we learned to count. And with it, we built cities, crossed oceans, split the atom, and measured the age of the universe itself. But we traded something for it. The ability to look at the world and simply see it exactly as it is before the mind reaches in and breaks it into numbers. You'll never see it that way again. Almost nobody alive can. And the strangest thing of all is that we gave it up so long ago, we forgot we were ever holding it. Dimly opens one of these doors every week. Subscribe and stay curious.